Okay, so first we have a slugging reduction update. So basically, when a survivor's been left in the dying state for 90 seconds or a minute and a half, they can fully pick themselves up without needing any help from any teammates. This can be enabled or disabled in custom games if you play with your friends and you don't really like it, but that's, it doesn't really matter that much. And I bet that's also for, like competitive Dead by Daylight if, when people play that. And perks that let you recover from the dying state before that 90 seconds, such as exponential or unbreakable or no either, can be can effectively bypass the 90 seconds. So unbreakable, I'm pretty sure you recover in like I think it's 24, maybe 26 seconds. You can just recover by in 26 seconds for the first time, like unbreakable allows you to. You don't need to go through that 90 seconds. Survivors also slowly crawl quicker. If that makes sense. So as they're left on the ground for longer, they start to crawl quicker. And also, you don't need to press a button to recover, you just instantly recover. Look here, there's a little anti-tunnel bar there. So, which is similar to the anti-camp feature. It looks very similar. I think it's the exact same bar. And when it fully recovers, you just pick yourself. You can choose when to pick yourself up. As you can see, a little mouse pops up right about there. And then you choose when you get picked up. And they've had a little dev note, but yeah, they're just saying it's frustrating to be on the other side of it, to be slugged. So they want to counteract that, but also make it so you can still use slugging as pressure. There's a tunneling reduction update, which I think if it isn't managed, killer to killer, can do some serious damage to certain killers. But we'll just go over it and I'll explain that later. So whenever they're hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. What I think that means is on the HUD, you can see a little bar. Right now, if you go on the game and you hook a survivor, you can see a little bar which shows how long they've been on the hook for and how long they have left. I presume that means that that bar will just be full all the time. You will never see how far along they are. And when they get unhooked, they don't get a notification. You don't get a notification, and their hook status isn't revealed immediately. So when a survivor gets unhooked now, you hear a loud noise notification, and the survivor little picture changes from being a hook to being the survivor they're playing. I think that means it won't be revealed straight away. Maybe like 20, 30 seconds afterwards, it might do that. But I think that's a good thing. I think that is perfectly fine. Delaying the information for the killer makes tunneling way harder, which is good. They obviously, as we already have, they get haste and they get endurance for 10 seconds. They also get a new effect called elusive, which I'll explain in a second. So these are all effects that happen when the survivor's been unhooked. They also have no collision with the killer and other survivors. They get immunity to killer instinct. So, for example, a legion wouldn't be able to hit killer instinct on them. And they see the killer's aura when they come close, probably like kindred range, maybe 16, maybe 20 meters. They see the killer's aura for the first, I don't know, 10 seconds. And the effects are lost when they perform a conspicuous action, such as doing a generator or healing another survivor or a totem or a chest or, you know, what what it is now basically. And all the effects are disabled when all the generators are completed except the haste and endurance, so they stay. Haste and endurance are still in effect throughout the entire game, but no collision, immunity to killer instinct, and seeing the killer's aura, and elusive are all lost the moment all the generators are completed. You will not get those effects. It also adds a unique effect to the killer hook state UI, which is the little circle. that you get in the bottom, these survivors have little tally marks next to their names. The killer gets instead a circle with 12 little segments that represents one segment per hook. That is what it's talking about here. So it tells them what survivor it was that was last hooked. And when you complete a unique hook, so for example, let's say a game consists of a Dwight, a Meg, a Claudette, and a David. If you hook the Dwight and then you hook the Claudette, that's a unique hook. If you hook the Dwight and then the Dwight again, that's not a unique hook. But I think you can go Dwight, Claudette, Dwight, Claudette, Dwight, Claudette. I think you can do that, but it's trying to incentivize you to go Dwight, Claudette, Meg, David, Dwight, Claudette, Meg, David, Dwight, Claudette, Meg, David. It's trying to convince you to single hook survivors consistently throughout the entire game, rather than just straight going for Dwight and then get him dead, and then going for Claudette and then get her dead. It's trying to decentivize tunneling. So when you do a unique hook, you get bonus damage on the next kick of a generator. So right now, if a killer kicks a generator, it takes off 5% of that generator without any perks or anything. I presume that maybe goes up to 10, maybe 15% on the next generator kick. When you do a unique hook, you also get temporary haste, so similar to a Devour Hope. Probably when you leave a range of the hook, you get 5-10% haste for 10-15 seconds. These are just random numbers. These numbers aren't confirmed. This is just like baseline information that they're giving us right now. And temporarily reveal survivors. I think this is really good. I think this is honestly one of the best changes they've made here. So you get effectively a base kit, barbecue, and chili that have less or equal hook states to the hooked survivor. So let's say you've hooked a Claudette twice. You see this, or the auras of survivors outside of a certain range that have 1 or 0 hook states. No, or 2 actually, yeah. So it makes it possible so you can find survivors easier that you haven't hooked yet. I think that is amazing. I love that. I love that you can hook a survivor and they're really trying to incentivize you by giving you other options rather than just, if you hook that survivor again, you get massive negative effects. But we'll get onto that in a second, which is where I have issues. So this barbecue effect, the haste effect, and the bonus damage are slightly less for Blight, Dracula, Ghoul, Hillbilly, and the Nurse. That is amazing. All these killers have such insane mobility that, could you imagine if you were playing against a Blight or a Dracula or a Ghoul or a Hillbilly or a Nurse, and every time they did a second hook, because all these killers can win really easily by just, they don't even need to tunnel. They can play like this by getting singular hooks, and they can still win really easily because these killers are so good. So all these effects, they get less bonus damage, less haste, and presumably less time that the aura is read, or within a large, yeah, the survivor has to be much further away from you to have their aura read. And again, these effects are disabled once all generators are completed, just like the survivor effects. There's also new effects that, so they have these effects which are to disincentivize tunneling in a way of giving the killer positive effects for not tunneling. These are effects that disincentivize tunneling because it gives the survivors positive effects, or the killer a negative effect because of their tunneling. So if a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all the remaining survivors gain a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial. So effectively, you need to hook one survivor twice, hook another survivor twice, hook a survivor once, and then you can go back and hook one of the survivors and hook one of the death hook survivors. But if you have a killer, see where I'm going with this, because I'm an honorary main. If you have a killer with a power that can kill really quickly, like if you go back and you look at some of my videos that I've done, like for example the streak, there's a couple games where I get a kill at 5 gens from my power, not from hooking, but from my power before I've reached 6 total stages. I think if this rolls out the exact same for every single killer, it will have massive implications that really, really hurt Pyramid Head, Sadako. I was going to say Myers, but he's been changed, so not Myers. So Pyramid Head, Sadako, and Pig are the 3 main ones off the top of my head, where if you kill someone with your power before you've reached 6 hook states, the survivors get massive effects, or you get a massive negative effect, which doesn't really seem fair because it's more you used your power well. You know what I mean? I've used my power well, so I'm rewarded by getting a condemned kill early on in the game. If the survivors then get crazy generator repair speed bonus for the rest of the game, you could see how that's a bit unfair or not, not very positive for the game. Or if a survivor gets their head popped because they die against a pig reverse bear trap before the pig has reached 6 stages, all the survivors gain a repair speed bonus. That's not really the pig's fault. The pig has no say in that. The pig got the down, put the trap on their head, and they've left them, maybe. The pig might have just left them and they might have died because the map's too big, or they couldn't find a way to get to the last box because it's too confusing. That's not the pig's fault that survivor's dead, but big negative. And because of these perks, oh no, I didn't go over this actually. And if the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, so if the survivor is last hooked, let's say again back to this scenario that I had, if the Dwight was last hooked and then you hook the Dwight again, all generators, presumably for the rest of the game, provided the Dwight dies from that next hook, all generators for the rest of the game cannot regress and cannot be blocked. So imagine all the generators immediately hit their gen kick limit, and any perks that would block generators, presumably for the killer, like for example, if the survivor had repressed Alliance, I would imagine they could still block it. But any perks for the killer that would block a generator just doesn't activate. I know when I was saying that, I sounded very negative. That's just because of this. This is a good thing. Oh, hold on. This is good. I like this. And it can be enabled or disabled in custom games. Obviously, that's just for competitive Dead by Daylight, because they have different rules. They use different rules, I mean. And Survivor and Killer perks have been updated to adjust for these. And also for the slugging reduction, because obviously this is basically just tenacity base kit. They've updated the tomes. It's not a gameplay change. I'm not going to go over that. They have changed the shape quite a lot, actually. So instead of him having evil within 1, 2, 3, he has no evil within anymore. So he has a Stalker mode, which is just like his evil within 1, where he moves at 4.2. It's actually slower. It used to be 4.4. Now they're moving it back down to 4.2, which is 105% movement speed, so only 5% quicker than survivors. You have undetectable, and you can stalk survivors. So it's very, very similar to current Evil Within 1, except you just move 5% slower. I'd presume you also have the shorter lunge range and all that. Then you have Pursuer mode, which these are toggled between. So you can swap between Stalker mode and Pursuer mode whenever you want. That's tier 2. That's Evil Within 2. You have 4.6 meters, which is 115. You have a 24 meter terror radius, which it currently is for Michael Myers in tier 2. Increased vault speed, which it is actually in Evil Within 2. It's slightly increased. I think there's also a slight bonus to lunge range. No, there's not. Never mind. There's no bonuses to long range. So these are all new effects for Pursuer mode, which is effectively Evil Within 2. You get bonuses to a lunge, to your lunge range, break speed, so kicking pallets and generators, stun recovery, so when you get stunned by a pallet, I would imagine, I couldn't imagine it'd be by other things. When you get stunned by a pallet, you recover slightly quicker, but you cannot stalk survivors in Pursuer mode. So if you want to stalk a survivor, you have to swap back to Stalker mode. When you get a full stalk meter, you can instantly trigger Evil Incarnate whenever, or doesn't instantly trigger it, sorry. You can trigger it whenever you want, which gives you the following effects. So you have 4.6 movement speed. Oh, survivors no longer become exposed, actually. That's cool. 4.6 movement speed, so 115. You have a 40 meter terror radius, which is like the Hillbilly, Ghoul, and Blight. Bigger than average. And an increased vault speed, presumably a similar amount or the same amount as Evil Within 3. Very, very quick. And it unlocks a new ability. So you hold the power button, which charges this ability and reduces your movement speed. You then press the attack button while it's charging. Oh, let me have it. Okay, yeah. So you press the attack button whilst it has charged. So as you can see in this video here, let it just. So as you can see, the whoever's behind the screen gets the option to strike before it's fully charged, but he uses it when it's fully charged. You press the attack button to really quickly lunge forward, which adjusting your angle as you move. I'm not really sure what that means. I presume that just means you can look around, which I don't really know why that's there, but whatever. And yeah, the length of the lunge depends on the charge time. So if you charge it for basically nothing, you get basically a nothing lunge. If you charge it for long, you get a long lunge. If the survivor enters the killer's attack range, so if they get hit by it, basically, they're put into the dying state, no matter whether they were healthy or injured. It can be used to destroy pallets, so you can charge into a pallet and break it with an attack. And when a survivor's on death hook, you can grab and kill them, similar to Michael Myers' current Tombstone add-ons, or you can perform a regular Mori on them when they're on the floor. They've adjusted the mechanics of stalking, so they've removed the limited pool of stalks. If you didn't know, with Michael Myers currently, he has a certain amount of points. I think it's like 40 per survivor or something. That is finite and will never recover. That's been removed, so he has infinite stalk on every survivor. The stalk range has been reduced to 32 meters, so if you're further than 32 meters away, you cannot stalk a survivor. And the distance modifier, so Michael Myers currently, the further away he is from a survivor, the quicker he stalks them. That's been completely removed. And the closer he is, the slower he stalks them. That's been removed. He just stalks at one solid pace no matter where he is in relative to the survivors. And moving while stalking has been increased The movement speed has been increased, but you stalk slower whilst you're moving. It's also reworked some of his add-ons. The clown, they've changed the clown, which is pretty good because he was fairly annoying to play against. They've made it so his yellow bottle, the one that speeds him up, isn't activated as quick as it is now. It's probably by like a second or something, maybe half a second. And they've increased, this is a nerf, by the way. Just because it says increase doesn't mean it's a buff. This is a nerf. This one is a buff. It's increased the amount of time his purple bottle's hinder lingers after he leaves the smoke. So he throws it. When you're in the smoke, you have hindered. When you leave the smoke, currently, the hindered dissipates after like half a second or a second. They've increased the amount of time you have the hindered for. Unknown, these are more just quality of life updates, I'd say. Except the top one. The top one's actually a buff, the others seem more quality of life. So the weakened duration when injured by a UVX projectile. So let's say, so as you know, with the unknown, if a survivor looks at the unknown, the UVX lowers, eventually removing itself. If the survivor looks at the unknown and then gets hit by UVX, they get injured, and it goes up back by like 50%, let's say. I don't know the exact number, but let's just say the UVX is increased by 50% when they get hit. This is being buffed up, effectively, to presumably fully restore the UVX. No, sorry, the weakened effect is presumably just going to fully restore the weakened effect, or at least do more than what it currently does. Increase movement speed recovery after teleporting. So the Unknown has an add-on called Blurry Photo. When he came out, it was probably his best add-on because it made him recover really, really quickly. They then made it partially base kit. It seems like they're making it even more partially base kit. And they've increased the amount that the Unknown can look up while he's holding his power, which can be demonstrated in this video here. But he looks up. I don't know. Apparently that's the most he can look up. I don't play enough Unknown, and when I did play Unknown, I didn't go for snipe, so I'm not too sure how high up you can look usually, but that's more apparently. And the Dark Lord has both buffs and nerfs, which I quite like. So his Hellfire cooldown is currently 7 seconds. If he uses Hellfire, then he has to wait 7 seconds to use another one. That's been reduced. I can't see it being reduced by much, maybe by like 6 seconds. No, maybe 2 6 seconds, possibly 5.5. I couldn't see it being reduced any more than that. He has an extra Hellfire pillar. So I think he usually has 6. Now he'd have 7. Yeah, that sounds about right. He used to have 6. Now he'd have 7. While he actually has it in his hand, which is demonstrated by he has a little fireball in his hand that he holds out, he moves slower. And increased slowdown time after casting Hellfire. So when he actually uses Hellfire and the pillars go up, he's slowed down quite a lot. That is being increased. And I think it means the amount of time he's being slowed down for is increased, not the amount of slowdown he gets. His wolf form is being nerfed. So his pounce attack charges slower. So usually I think it takes like a second and then he pounces. That's probably going to be, changed to like 1.2 or 1.5. Basically, his wolf form is nerfed. And the scent orb spawn time, something you can't actually see as a survivor, has also been nerfed. So it's less scent orb spawn. And bat form, his movement is easier while he's flying around. It's easier to control, and they've adjusted some of his add-ons to compensate for these changes. Oni, little bit of Oni change. Who doesn't love playing as a god Oni? When you hook a survivor, it spawns more blood orbs. Currently, it spawns like 3. Probably spawn like 5 or 6. Yeah. And not only have they changed the perks, changed some perks for the anti-tunnel, and the anti-slug, they have also changed more perks, basically, which they've not gone into detail here, but it says it comes out next week, which I actually don't know when, to be completely honest. Sometime in September, because it came out 37 minutes ago. Probably early September, maybe the 4th. That's in a week's time, I think. Something like that. What is it? 29th? In like 3 days. Yeah, maybe like the 4th or the 5th. But yeah, that's all the changes. I think overall, most of these changes are really nice. You have the unknown, effectively just huge quality of life buffs, which make him so much more fun to play. And he already is fun to play as and against. So hopefully we see more unknowns, more people wanting to play unknown, willing to play him. Because he's not only powerful, but fun to play as and against. I would love to see more unknowns. They're changing the clown a bit, making it so he has to use his purple bottles more. His yellow bottles were absurd in current times. They're absolutely insane. You've got no reason to use your purple bottles at all. They're changing that, so you have to actually combo both your bottles. The shape, I'm going to have to test this out. I think it sounds really good. And Dark Lord. I think Dark Lord can feel really oppressive sometimes, so it's nice to see him get buffs in some ways where he doesn't feel as oppressive, but nerfs in the ways where he does. And obviously, it's just a little only change, but it's nice. And yeah, they're the changes. They're the changes. I'll be going over them again when the PTB actually comes out because they'll be in more detail. And I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, see you in the next one.